Welcome to Ready to Rise. I'm excited to start this new podcast journey with you. For years, I've done different podcasts in different formats, and I've really struggled with how to actually structure them and how to have the right flow and things like that. And so I was thinking about a while back and trying to come up with a better way to do a podcast that's more true to who I am and the things that we teach and so forth. And so I was thinking about it, and I came to this conclusion that a great podcast is structured a lot like a really great meeting. And being that I got to be part of the team that created the Rise business framework, we teach meeting structure every single day. I'll be leaving here in just a few hours to go to the airport and fly and help a team grow and scale based on good meeting structure and how they run. And so what I've done is we're gonna meet every single week on Ready to Rise, and I'm gonna use the Rise business framework structure for how we teach an organizational meeting should run. And we're going to use that as a little bit of a weekly Rise meeting on what's going on in business, what's going on in marketing, what's going on in personnel and hiring, what's going on in inspiring teams. In Rise, we teach four things. We teach resource, inspiration, systems, and engagement. And so our Ready to Rise podcast will cover all four of those buckets with current events, stories that are taking place right now. Some additional things we're going to talk through are we have a stoplight report that we're going to track together every single week with what are the macro trends that are going on in business right now, what are the metrics you should be keeping your eyes on as the economy changes and scales and grows, and how those affect your business. And so with that in mind, we're going to jump into Ready to Rise, episode 1. And I'm excited to do this with you. I'll warn you ahead of time, these might not all come out on the same day every week. And I'm always going to probably be in a different place today. I just so happen to get to be in my office. So that's pretty cool for me today. But if you don't know who I am, my name is Brandon McCurdy. I own Brand Design, which is a marketing and branding company here in Marion, Iowa. I'm also the CMO for Sharper Business Solutions. We help companies all over the country and around the world with business systems and processes. I'm also a consultant with them. Last year I was in 177 different consulting days over the period of a year. And then also additionally to that, I helped co-create the Rise business framework, which is a framework that helps businesses grow, scale, and rise. And so that's a little bit about me and who I am and what I'm doing here. But I want to jump into it and get going with our episode today. And just some things we want to do. We do these Rise meetings. We usually have a time where it's good news, personal and professional. And obviously there's always challenges in business and there are always challenges in life. So I just want to kind of bring up a bright spot to the day and some good news and a story that was kind of cool when I was reading it, and I thought I'd share it with you as well. So there's a great story about a man named Taylor Schnecker in Asheville, North Carolina. And what Taylor started doing is the storms and the different things that have happened there, he kept finding debris. And some of the debris he kept finding was people's family photos and pictures that were memorable to them and things that they would want back. And Taylor has a whole entire thing now where he is collecting these pictures and getting them returned back to the strangers that lost them. So shout out to you, Taylor, and the work you're doing there in North Carolina. And that's just it's a cool thing to do as people lose stuff. And, takeaway from it, if you just think about it, there's a lot of things in business that we think are the most important thing and the thing that is the most valuable that we're going to do. But greatness really just looks like stopping sometimes and doing the small local things. Doing the things that are not as necessarily as flashy, things that aren't necessarily going to get you as noticed, but stopping every now and then and doing the little things. I had the privilege this week of hearing Ed Milet speak, and Ed talked about making sure that you recognize and see those people that most people don't recognize and see. The person emptying the trash at the airport, the person who serves you your coffee, and just stopping and making sure that they know that you see them, you acknowledge them, you recognize them, and that they're valuable. So really important there. I'm going to jump into the stoplight report, and I'm going to have my team put a picture of the stoplight report that we're going to use here. There'll be a link in the show notes where you can go track this and watch it and look at it and different things. But we're going to track several different metrics, and the way we're going to do this is every single week we're going to look at the same numbers and see how they are on trend. When we teach Rise, we use a stoplight report, which means if it's red, it means it's below where the target or where it ought to be. Yellow is it's on target. A green means it's exceeding its targets. And so I've come up with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different metrics that we're going to track every single week that should help you as you're making decisions for your business. What areas that you need to be focused on. A lot of times we don't have time to be sitting there reading the Wall Street Journal. We don't have time to be tracking the stock market every single second of every single day. So hopefully this will just be a weekly way for you to understand what's consumer sentiment, what's going on in hiring, what's going on in the economy that you can keep your eyes on. So here, let's go through a few of them, all right? The Fed fund rates right now, this week it's between 3.5 and 3.75. Historic norm is between 2.5 and 3. So we're a little bit above baseline where we ought to be. Inflation right now is at 2.7. Target should be 2. And so we are above target right now, which is not a good thing. So we need to see inflation come back down a little bit and get back in that 2 range like we want it to be. Unemployment right now is at 4.6. Historically and recently it's been at 4. So the target would be 4 and we're at 4.6. So not too far off the line, but a little bit shading a little bit higher than we'd like to see it. You could attribute that to whatever you want to. If you're anti-AI, you can attribute it to AI. If you're more companies were overbuilt and had too many employees, you can believe that as well. Whatever you want to do there. Small business optimism. This is where it got really, really interesting. Okay, so there's a 52-year average of 98% small business optimism, and for the first time in 50 years, there is a 2-month trend of small business optimism being below that target. So it's at 95.9 right now. That is an interesting sign. I just want to point this out because I was reading this report and it kind of jumped out at me. What that means is, and we'll see in a second, overall economy is in an okay place. Unemployment's not bad. A lot of the metrics that should be giving people optimism and making them feel confident about business and spending and growing are not there. And so it's interesting because the optimism's down, but the economy's kind of up. Good takeaway for you if you're a business owner is if you can move with a little bit more confidence in the true numbers, not just business optimism, which is very subjective, there's a good opportunity for you. So I'd focus on that stuff. Uncertainty index is at 88. The average is 68. We're well behind on that, how unsure owners are right now and just business people. Again, there's a lot of noise around AI. There's a lot of noise around unemployment. There's a lot of noise around the economy and leadership and things like that. And we're seeing that play out in this uncertainty index that we're going to track every week. Owners raising prices up 30%. Again, that's off track quite a bit. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Unfilled job openings as at 34%. Historically, we're at 22%. Overall economy is between 2 and 2.5 right now, and the trend is 2%. So we're actually ahead on the GDP. So that's an interesting anomaly, again, that most of these other sentiment-based statistics are in the red, but the ones that are more objective are in the green. So it'll be interesting to see where those trends go as time goes on. Again, next week we'll look at the exact same metrics and measurables and see what the trends are going to be. And again, we'll have a link in the show notes where you can go see the live tracker and be able to watch and see what's going on with our stoplight report that we have as we track it that way. Want to do some quick commitment check-in. We do these at our RISE meetings, and I want to do them here, and I want to do them for a couple of reasons. One, I want to kind of show you how a commitment is made, and secondly, quarterly commitments in companies are made. Secondly, I want you to hold me accountable. So I'm going to give you my quarterly commitments, and I'm going to give you just a check-in on some of the stuff that we're working on at RISE, at Sharper, at Brand Design, so that you can help me stay accountable, and you can kind of see how how companies make these commitments. So commitment we're working on right now is we're completing RISE software. This quarter, we'll roll out some new software from RISE that we're pretty excited about. That will just kind of consolidate a lot of the tools that we use for coaching and training. So help with that. I'm in the process of writing a book, and so I'm going to have this done by the end of the quarter, and you'll be seeing a lot more about that and hearing more about that coming out soon. But I'm working on that. We're working on hiring a marketing director right now for Sharp Business Solutions. So if you're a marketing person and you're looking for work, you want to apply, drop me a message. We'd love to talk to you. And then last, finalize the new Brand Lab. We're working on something here at Brand Design to restructure something we call Brand Lab. It's a marketing mastermind, and we want to make it a little bit more accessible for more people to be a part of it. We had smaller groups of people in it, but want to make it where it's more accessible to more people. So we're working on those 4 things. Goals, as we set these things, they're just wishes unless we put a deadline behind them. And so that's why we make these quarterly commitments, and either we'll hit them or we won't, but we'll know that we said we could do it. These are not things that are dependent on the market. They're not dependent on anything except us doing what we need to get done. So you hold me accountable and make some quarterly commitments in your own company and so forth. I also want to just give you an update where I'm headed. Again, I travel almost every single week and do business consulting all over the country. And so this week I'm leaving here in just a few hours to go to Louisville, Kentucky to work with an accounting firm there and an awesome client, good dude who's actually texting me right now while we're shooting this podcast. So excited to be in Louisville, Kentucky. I'll be flying out of Louisville to go to Allentown, Pennsylvania to work with another investor there. Excited to work with those guys. And then off to Knoxville, Tennessee to go work with another team there. And then I got to get back home on Thursday night because I got tickets to go see my favorite comedian, Nate Bargatze, on Friday night here in Cedar Rapids. So we're stoked about that kind of stuff. So just a lot of stuff going on with us, and we're excited about it. We're going to get into the issues list. And so if we're in a normal business meeting, this would be the time where our team would have put issues on an issues list, and then we would work through them together. If you're familiar with the process, we would identify here's the issue we're going to talk about. We'd have some conversation around what's the problem, and then we'd come to some conclusions. And so I'm going to kind of do the same thing, and we're going to use that RISE framework again of resources, inspiration, systems, and engagement each week to identify what stories we're talking about. And then I'm just going to give you some perspective on what I'm seeing right now as I work with companies, where I sit with kind of my thoughts around these things, and just one person's perspective. I caution you ahead of time. Again, there are few things in this world that everybody is perfectly right on. So there are things that I'll probably talk about, and you'll be like, Brandon, I completely disagree with you, and that's okay. And there'll be other things where you'll think, wow, that was really I agree with that point, and that's okay too. You're not going to hurt my feelings either way. So let's jump into some of these stories. Right now, two things are happening at once. And so if we talk about resources, there's a rise of the solo business owner. And two things happening at the same time, which are very interesting. First and foremost, obviously, with the iterations coming in AI, with efficiencies in technology just in general, a lot of people are blaming things on AI. In reality, it was your companies like Amazon and all of these others were already moving into automation. We're already moving into robotics. It's just being expedited by this, and it tells a good story if we use AI to do it. So we're seeing a rise in solopreneurs that are able to generate high amounts of revenue. There's a great company right now that just became one of the first. It's two brothers, just the two of them using some tools and things, got $1 billion in revenue for a year. Incredible. So this rise in just not needing as many people to make a lot more revenue is on one side. If you juxtapose that up against something else that's happening right now, which is that most of the baby boomers are getting ready to sell and get out of their businesses. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in their 60s and 70s who are in business still, and either they're making a choice right now. They're either saying, I am all in and I'm going to ride this thing until I can't run anymore, or they're saying, you know what, I've made my money, I'm ready to exit out, and I'm going to sell my company. And so you have this two things happening at once, which is the businesses are changing hands to younger owners or younger ownership groups who are much more apt to leverage technology and AI, and the older generation who is selling their businesses and moving on to retirement or whatever else they want to be doing next. These two things happening at the same time are creating a very interesting environment, which is just forcing every business owner to stop and before they make a hire, think, can we just become more efficient? I put a post on Facebook the other day and just tried to get some feedback on this before getting ready for this podcast. And the question I just asked was, is it more efficient to have one person with a great process or 10 people with no process? And the consensus I got back was that most business owners who are operating and running businesses right now would all agree that it is much better to have efficient processes with one person than no processes with 10 people. And what that just puts a lot of pressure on right now, that headcount isn't progress anymore. Capacity against a defined role is what the progress should be. We should be looking and saying, it's not just, can I add another body? Before you go get another big team and you have this big team that you want to build because that's what would serve your ego, it's not a strategy for business growth anymore like it used to be. It used to be we would look at employees and we would say, okay, here's this employee, and I should be able to see a 5-6x return on investment for their money. If I'm paying this person $100,000 a year, I better be making $500,000 off of their work that they're producing. The way that things are now is a person with the right tools and the right resources and the right processes and the right AI training and the right everything should be producing at a higher clip. And before you stop me there and you say, well, Brandon, it's a little early in the AI stuff, I'm telling you right now, the tools are in place for somebody to be able to do that. And you should be thinking that way, is before I hire somebody, what could I do? Now, I'm going to contradict myself here in just right now. There are times right now specifically where a key hire is the most important thing you can do. As I'm consulting businesses every day right now, I'm keep running into places where they know what to do. They want to get more engaged in AI. They want to get more engaged in technology. They want to become more efficient as a company. They just don't have the, for lack of it, they don't have the horses to do it. They don't have the people who know how to do those things. And so before you just look and say, well, shoot, I'm not going to hire anybody. I'll just get some AIs and we'll get some open clause set up and I'll get get Claude to do it all for me and that'll be that. A key hire right now is worth so much more than it was 6 months ago, a year ago. I mean, I'm going into most businesses right now and we are finding places where if you would hire one key person, it would make all the difference in the world. So don't just take this as hiring freeze, don't hire anybody. Take this as, if I do hire somebody, they better be able to do the work of more people than they would have when I was hiring before. Before, you were just hiring to plug somebody into existing processes. You should not be hiring to just plug somebody into existing processes right now. You should be hiring so that somebody can come in and redo your processes and understand them better and run them in a way that is the most efficient possible. Headcount is not progress anymore. Just because you have a big office with a bunch of people in it doesn't mean it's a good company. I can tell you from personal experience, I've walked into many an office where it looked very impressive. Lots of people and this president of this and this director of that and the other thing over here. I've walked into other companies where it's 2 or 3 people, 4 people, and a small team far outperforming, higher revenues, higher profits than the company with all the bodies. Just be mindful when you're doing your hiring now that you should be thinking efficiencies and optimization, not just another body to throw at the company. So that's resources. Again, hire with clarity there. Let's move on to inspiration. So that's an issue there. We kind of solved that issue. Be careful in your hiring. Inspiration. Most employees are just checking out right now from an inspiration perspective. It's costing us trillions and trillions of dollars. So check this out. This is a really interesting statistic. I found this one a few years ago or last year, and it really kind of solidified what I was feeling. And statistically, this is where it breaks down. So Gallup runs the biggest workplace study in the world. Their latest finding is this: that check this out, and this is Gallup doing this across multiple industries and multiple businesses all over the place, that 1 out of 5 employees globally feel genuinely engaged. So if you have 5 people working on your team, 1 of them would say in a survey that they feel genuinely engaged at work, that they are actually optimized in doing the work that they should be doing. This is the lowest number since 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, right? COVID just made everybody disengage from their work. But the disengagement is going up and up and up. Now, here's the real world issue with this. That disengagement costs companies every year 10, and I'm saying the right thing here, not billion, $1 trillion in lost production. Meaning they paid out $10 trillion in salary, in hourly wages, in bonuses, in payroll, with 0 return on it. So the productivity that was lost because of people just not being checked into their work right now is just abysmal. In the US alone, it's about 31% engaged. It's the 11-year low, and only about 2/3 of employees say they feel a real sense of purpose in what they do. If you look at that, and let's just think about this from a couple different angles, okay? So first angle, let's look at it. Just very practically, very tangibly speaking. If your team is not engaged in the work. And what does engagement look like? It looks like somebody coming into work, being excited to be there, doing the job, getting the work done, producing quality work. I've had this conversation so many times recently, which is just finding people and inspiring your team to take professional pride in the work that they do. There's a lot of people just getting the bare minimum done, and there's zero professional pride in we did it right, we did it the right way. Engagement looks like people doing work with professional pride. Engagement looks like somebody coming in, excited to be there, ready to work. They believe in what you do as a company. And if we can't figure out how to get people to do that, to lock in and get excited about what they're doing and how they're doing it, then we should just expect that there's going to be 1 out of every 5 of them that's actually going to show up ready and locked and loaded, ready to work. And you're going to see major inefficiency. So how do we solve for this? We've kind of identified the issue. How do we fix it? I find that the companies where the owners, the CEOs, the leaders, whoever it is that's the head of it, what they'll do a lot of times is because they were the top performer in the company and they've elevated themselves on up. They think that their highest value is in production. And there are times when that's true. Don't get me wrong. If you're having a really bad quarter and you're the best salesperson on the team as the owner of the company, you need to get out there and go sell something. I get that. That's 100% totally valid. I agree with that point altogether. On the flip side, just understand every time you take yourself into production, you're taking yourself out of inspiration. Let me make it a little bit more Rise-centric. Every time you become a resource to the business that's required to go get contracts signed, to go get new business, to go close new things, every time you move into that role, you are leaving the inspiration role, meaning you do not have the time or the emotional bandwidth or the energy to lead, manage, and inspire your team. And you say, well, Brandon, I'm so much better at the one than the other. Great. Then go hire a CEO and let them lead, manage, inspire the team. But the thing is, and I'll be a little bit more like blunt with you here. We gravitate to that which we're great at and which we're comfortable at. We gravitate away from things that we don't feel as confident in. And for a lot of us, if you just kind of grew up in business, you kind of came up as an entrepreneur, you grew up in the company, you're more attracted to the thing that you're great at, which is what got you where you are, which is production, being a resource to the business and driving results and getting a ton of revenue. You're not necessarily seasoned on how to inspire people and get the most out of somebody and help them see their best self grow in your company. That's not your strong suit necessarily. And in this situation, you have to learn those skills. You have to figure out how to get somebody to engage in their work. Now, that's the very tangible side of it, which is if we can get folks to engage, obviously we reduce the amount of just wasted money from inefficiency and lack of productivity. So that's benefit number 1. Benefit number 2, which is the more important benefit of it is that you started your company, and I would hope that you're at a place where it's providing for your daily living, it's providing for your groceries, your kids are fed, and you have a nice house to live in, or you have a home to live in. But I mean, we're a little beyond that. If you've been in business for some period of time with any measure of success, you're beyond the everybody's fed, everybody's safe, we have a house to live in, all those kind of things. And if you can't identify what's like next for you as a business owner, if you can't say like, here's the purpose by which this business exists. I mean, again, I sit with teams every day and we create what we call a key purpose indicator, where they track and they measure, why does this business exist? What are we doing here? And the companies that have clearly concise, here's what we do, here's why we're doing it beyond making money, are the ones where the team can actually attach themselves to it and associate with something greater than I made Brandon more money, I made Joe more money, I made this person more money. We have to figure out how to get people engaged so that the production is where we ought to be, and more specifically, so that we run companies of purpose. I know that it seems counterintuitive because you want to say, well, if we're struggling right now, I should just get back out in the field and go get more contracts. I should get out in the field and get more sales. I should go out onto the showroom floor. I should go out into the factory and make the things because we're struggling right now. And I need to get out there and I need to show the team that I'm willing to do it. But more importantly than that is that you are able to inspire people and get the most out of them to do the work that needs to be done. So purpose isn't a poster. It's the answer to why does this matter? And if you can't answer that question for people, then you're always going to struggle with this. But instead of you saying, hey, I'm going to take an hour and go out and do a bunch of appointments this week, or I'm going to take an hour and go sit on the showroom floor, or I'm going to go out in the factory for an hour this week, here's a better idea for you. I would go find 2 or 3 of your key employees, and I would take them out to lunch, and I would sit them down, and I would say, what are you trying to accomplish here? What are your goals? Where are you headed? And how do we get you there as a company? How do I make sure that this company is helping you fulfill your purpose? Because if I can't figure out how to get them inspired, then 1 out of 5 of them will produce, and we'll be dealing with $10 trillion in losses. I looked at the numbers, and I think they've changed a little bit, but in the early days of AI, the amount of money that we were going to recover in efficiencies of AI was less than the inefficiencies that we're seeing of employees. So in other words, we could have just skipped AI altogether and just had people be efficiently bought into what they were doing and seeing the exact same results. Your company right now, because things are changing so quickly, if you have disengaged people at a time where software and technology and AI and all these things are escalating, you're going to miss it because they're not going to be engaged enough to learn the new thing. And if they're not engaged enough to learn the new thing, you're going to fall behind because guess what? Your competitor will. They'll figure it out. Okay, let's move on to systems. Again, I've mentioned it a few times here at our marketing agency and the work we do with Sharper and with Rise. Obviously, we're doing a ton of stuff with AI right now. It's a hot topic. I do a lot of consulting on it. I do a lot of speaking on it. It's a hot topic right now. And right now, it's stopped becoming a toy and it's starting to become the plumbing of your business. The question I get almost every day when I'm with the team consulting is, we see all this stuff and we're hearing all this cool stuff and we're seeing, everybody's talking about using Claude Cowork to do this thing for them, and this person's doing that thing over there, and all this stuff's happening, and they're like, we just need to figure out how do we get it into our business. I heard this framing, and I think this will be very valuable for you. Stop treating it like it's like a magic trick or a toy, and start thinking of it like it's plumbing. What do I mean by that? Instead of trying to say like, hey, I'm going to get this thing to go generate pictures and make us videos, and I'm going to get it to, run some financial numbers for us. Instead of that, start thinking of it as, here is where all the things in my business need to flow. They need to flow to marketing. They need to flow to acquisitions or sales. They need to flow to construction. They need to flow to production. They need to flow to purchasing, my buyers, whatever industry you're in, and whatever parts there are. There's information, there's resources, there's things that need to flow to each of those departments. And you should start thinking of AI as the plumbing that helps the business flow. Meaning, instead of saying, here's the problem we're having, let's throw some fun little AI tool at it, it's the entire infrastructure behind how we're about to do this new thing is going to be AI, and now we'll figure out how to do it. Let me give you an example. For years, brand design, we do social media management for some people. We did that for years and years. We built some software that did it for us so that we didn't have to do as much of it. We do a lot of pay-per-click advertising and SEO and fractional CMO work, and all those different things. So putting out content, for example, we are not thinking of it anymore like, let's go take some fun AI video editor and just throw it in and do it, though we still do some of those things. It's more of, how do we from end to end not have somebody have to get in there and touch every single piece of this video? It becomes the plumbing. So in other words, this video, when I'm done, we're working on this process. I'm not going to claim to be perfect on this stuff yet, but the way it's working is, we'll take this video and we'll put it in a Google Drive folder. Claude Cowork will then go into the Google Drive folder, identify that there's a video in there, bring it in, clip and edit the video, take those clips and edits, upload it to a software we created called Social Brand Pro. It will load it into Social Brand Pro, and it will put all the videos in there with all of the captions and all of the things. So that way we can go in there from the human perspective, review it, make sure everything looks right, make sure it's not sending out a bunch of slop, check everything, and then let it go out. See what I mean? It's much more the plumbing of it than, well, let's grab it and throw it in this video editor, and let's grab it and then we'll post it in the thing. is let it be the entire conduit whereby everything gets to where it wants to go. Instead of saying, hey, let's pull some transcripts and audit our sales calls, make sure that you're using AI as the plumbing that gets things where it's supposed to be, using those agentic features that it now has to get it where it needs to go and let it move things around. The big platforms are racing to get this stuff in place, obviously. 61% of entrepreneurs now call AI their single biggest opportunity. It is for you as well, but you have to stop thinking of it as like a magic trick or like an app you would download when you had your phone years and years ago. You have to start thinking of it as, here's our entire process, end to end. Where are we plugging this in? You can't automate something until you start understanding that process and where it's going to go. AI won't save you if you're disorganized today. You're going to have to stop and remap everything out and then get it to work. Let me give you an example. We're working with a client right now, and they needed to come up with a better way for onboarding, training. They needed to come up with a better way for a knowledge base for their entire team and their entire company. Now, a year ago, 6 months ago, we would have said, okay, cool, let's get Trainual set up. Let's get an Asana board running, and let's get this going and that going. And instead now, we created a custom GPT and trained it on every single facet of that business. It knows everything. There's nothing it doesn't know. And so now, instead of saying to somebody, hey, look, we need you to go through onboarding and training, it's, hey, look, we need you to go to our AI, our custom AI, and I need you to go in there, and I need you to start asking it these types of questions. And I need you to learn about this. But you're basically going to have a mentor which sits next to you, which happens to be our company's custom GPT, and it's going to train you on how to do your job, and it's going to give you everything that you need. That has to start with you clearly understanding what your processes are. Let me give you another example that might help. There are factories where you can take and you can just load wood into the top of the factory and it'll spit out a dresser at the end, right? But there are thousands of components that take place from point A to point Z, from beginning to end. Somebody at some point had to map out what was going to take place from start to finish in that entire process. And you have to do the same. Before you just say, here's an AI tool and we're going to plug it into this part of our business, stop first. It can be as crude as get a whiteboard and whiteboard out the entire process. If you're not familiar with process mapping, go look that up. If you need help with process mapping, let me know. We have people that do this stuff. You have to start with a documented process first, because what's going to happen is you're going to try to plug AI things in, and all the extension cords are going to start breaking as you go along. AI is not going to save you if you have a disorganized business. It's not going to solve any problems for you. You need to identify where the process is, then figure out where AI fits in. Now, let's move on from there. So that's our processes. Engagement. Again, because of what we do at Brand Design as a marketing and advertising agency, I speak a lot on marketing. I'm a StoryBrand certified guide. We do marketing is kind of what we do day in and day out. I want to kind of hit on this because right now engagement is what we're going to talk about in this section. In Rise, engagement means branding, marketing, advertising, sales. I want to start, because this is our first episode together, by just creating some terminology that you're going to hear me say a lot and you're going to hear me use all the time, which is when we say branding, we mean who you are. When we say marketing, we mean what you say. When we say advertising, we mean where you say it. And when we say sales, we mean when you ask. So branding is who you are, marketing is what you say, advertising is where you say it, sales is when you ask. Meaning if let's say, for example, I was going to run a direct mail campaign, the branding would be my logo on it. If I put my picture on it, that would be part of the brand. The marketing would be the actual words on the card. What does it say? What is the words on it? The advertising would be the physical card itself and where I mailed it and where it ended up. And then the sale would be what the call to action is and how I collect the lead back in. Critical mistake getting made right now in lead management is good branding, good marketing, good advertising, and there's no mechanism whereby to capture those leads when they do come in. So you're going to hear those terms from me a lot. I want to start a little bit on the branding one because it's the one that interests me the most and the one that I get the most questions about right now specifically is, Brandon, am I wasting money in a new world of AI, in a new world of business operation? Am I wasting money spending it on branding right now? And my answer would be, the exact opposite. Right now, the highest currency that you can own as a business is trust. If you are a trusted person right now, that is the most valuable thing. There's all of these shifts taking place all at the same time. Meta just passed Google in global ad revenue for the first time ever. Google answered by rolling out this agentic advertising. They just did the Google I/O conference, if you watched any of that. All of these new tools, all of these new resources, all of these things to try to start moving brands to being in front of people in much more of a informational, uh, educational, entertaining environments, and away from the old just here's my ad, click on it and do business with me. Because what they're running into is that people are much more interested in working with real, actual human beings that they can trust. The tactic working best right now is real humans, companies' own employees, making content, getting in front of people where somebody can say, I've spent enough time with this person that now all of a sudden I would trust them with my business. Give you an example. I have a couple of different clients that are pretty big in the influencer space. Well known. If I gave you the names, you know who they were. They do a ton of content. It's like a full-time job for them. That's what they make. If you talk to them, they'll tell you there is a certain amount of time. It's around I want to say it's around 40 hours that you have to spend with somebody before you completely and intimately trust them. Now, the only way to get those reps in is by putting out enough content and enough information for them to spend enough time with you that they would look and say, I know, I like, and I trust this person. I'll tell you, I'll be candid and honest with you. For years, we've put out content from brand design, and I've tried to do content myself. Man, I have slipped on it so bad. I've not gotten enough stuff out where people can get to know me, get to know what we do, and get to know what we're all about enough to be able to do that. Now, my contrast is I do in-person consulting. So I go to people's offices, I go to their houses, I have dinner with them, I know their families, I know their kids. And so, when you're meeting somebody one-to-one, there's a lot more trust. But that's not scalable. I only have so much time in a year. I can only get on so many airplanes. Trust me, I'm trying to do as many as I can, but there's only so much you can do. At scale, I have to be able to build that relationship by doing things like I'm doing here right now. I will tell you, I'm very busy. I try to stay very busy. I try to have a full calendar. I have a beautiful family that if I have free time and I've got an extra hour, I'm going to go spend it with them. But this is important, and I want to make sure that I'm bringing value to you, and I make sure I'm bringing value to the community and to the people who are clients of ours. I'm wanting to make sure that I'm putting things in your hands that are helpful and valuable to you. Secondly, I'm trying to make sure that I'm putting enough information out where you can spend enough time with me and get to know what we do, to know, like, and trust us. So that when we do come to you and say, look, I have something of value that could help your company, that we've built enough rapport that you would say, you know what, I know that guy, I trust that guy, I like what he does, and I'm going to trust him with my money. I'm going to trust him with the ability to give me advice that I'm going to take and implement. And the only way to do that is to spend time with somebody. So that's what we want to do here, real humans. I would also encourage you with this, and this one's a little tricky, and I'll be careful with it. It's a little tricky. Is starting to make sure that your team is if they're bought in and they know that they can help a customer, is helping them start to make content. I've got a client right now who does an incredible job. He's got a couple of key people in the company that are they're really good on camera, and they're really good on communicating what they do as a company, really good at communicating with people and connecting them back to themselves. And they've started using their team to be able to create content. That stuff kills. It does so good. It's great content, and they're doing a great job with it. Now, obviously, if that person leaves, that's a risk. If that person does something that's that would damage the brand, that's a risk. But right now, the amount of content required sometimes means that other people have to do it. If you go on our brand design account, it's not always just me. Dylan here, who works for me here, you'll see Dylan on there a lot. And I want to see Dylan on there more, because we need to create that kind of understanding that this isn't just a one-man show. This isn't just one person that's going to work with you. This isn't just one person that you can trust, but there's other people. Secondly, especially if you're doing in-person anything, we want to know that this person already met this person online. They already saw your team member. They already met them. They've already gotten to know them. It matters that as we spend on marketing and as we spend more money on our marketing, that we are enhancing that message with organic content now more than ever. I will tell you, and just if I contrast people I work with against each other, two teams against each other, the one that puts out a lot more content, the one that takes their brand seriously and actually thinks about how they communicate with their customers and get more information in the hands of their customers, dramatically outperform companies that don't. And it looks different than you'd expect. A lot of times they think, well, okay, great, then I'm going to get cheaper leads, or I'm going to make more revenue because of it. It looks different than that. What it looks like is their employees are better, because if you get to know somebody online and you say, hey, you know what, I'd like to work for that guy someday, you can be a lot more selective and you get higher caliber employees than the other person. I wish I could give you like very empirical. I'm much more of an objective, empirical data person, but I will just tell you, people who spend the time investing in their brands attract better people than companies that don't. It's just a fact. The second side of it, which is as you put out more branding and messaging, we're closing, and I talk about this a lot when I consult teams and then when I'm speaking on marketing, is there's two major metrics we look at in marketing, which is customer acquisition cost, and there's the lifetime value of the customer. If you ever want to calculate customer acquisition cost, you can look at your company and say, how much did it cost us to get this customer? So for example, if I look and say I had to spend $100 in marketing, and I had to pay a salesperson $100, and then we did some lead management, or we did some other branding work, and that was another $100. Okay, so $300, and we would acquire a new customer for that $300 if we spent it that way. Now, again, the industries and all those are different. Those numbers are all different, but that would be my customer acquisition cost. Everything I spent on marketing and sales to bring a customer into our company. The lifetime value is calculated by you saying, how much money are we going to make on this customer over their lifetime? Now, if you're in SaaS or you're in a company that has recurring revenue models, it's a little trickier for you to say it, but you could look and say, we think this person's going to stay for 3 years. They're going to pay us $100 a month. So now we can calculate the lifetime value of that customer. Your lifetime value to your customer acquisition cost in just the general, like this is a very general statistic in marketing, is it's about 30% customer acquisition cost to lifetime value. Meaning, if I'm going to make $1,000, it's probably going to cost me $300 to acquire them as a customer. Why is that important? Because in branding, what we are trying to do is we are trying to reduce what it costs us to get a customer, and we're trying to increase the lifetime value of the customer. I'll give you an example of somebody who's done a really, really great job at it. If you ever look at Magnolia by Chip and Joanna Gaines, okay? If you go to towns, there are signs in front yards that say this home is for sale, has been remodeled by Magnolia by Chip and Joanna Gaines. They don't need to run PPC ads. They don't need to do mailers. They don't need to do, frankly, they probably don't even need to do open houses. They just put the sign in the yard and people know the brand. They like the brand. In cases they trust the brand and they buy the house. And frankly, they probably would end up paying a lot more for it. I know, for example, there are brands that I am completely loyal to. One of them, I have my watch I have on right now, my desk. I have more watches at home. Shinola is a brand that I'm just deeply in. Now, I could buy a watch for cheaper than the watch I have on right now, for sure. I could go buy a little Casio, and they could just blast me with mailers all the time if they wanted to. Neither of those things happen. What they do is they put videos up of them making these beautiful watches and their cool shop in Detroit and this whole American story of what they're doing to help restore Detroit back to its former glory and all of that. And this story that I've bought into from Shinola and the cost for what they're going to make on me over the lifetime of their company. Those two things have been stretched out, not because they did a bunch of just spray and pray marketing where they just blasted me. It got spread out because they focused much, much more on building trust, getting to know them, their company, what they stand for, and what they believe in. And now all of a sudden, we get this high lifetime value. Chasing perfect attribution is a distraction a bit right now. I will tell you, somebody who sets up stoplight reports, somebody who sets up KPIs and metrics literally every day of my life for people. I build marketing dashboards. I mean, like, this is where I live, is being able to track every single dollar of marketing spent to ROAS and how much money did we make on it. I am all in on all of that. However, there should be part of your marketing budget that is set aside to how are we building trust with customers. I used to say it was set aside for branding. That ended up being people just buying, more t-shirts and, koozies to give out to customers. That's not what I'm talking about. Where are you spending money as a company to build trust with your customer? And you could tell me, Brandon, you don't understand. My business is different. I've got a different customer. I don't care who the customer is. You should be spending money to build trust with the customer. If your customer's realtors, then you should be spending money on taking them out to lunch, taking them out to coffee, buying them gifts, getting your brand in front of them, getting them to know, like, and trust you more, paying somebody to do content creation for you. I don't care. But if you're not spending money out of your marketing budget to build trust with people, you are missing something. So here's the action item I want you to take. I want you to go back this week and I want you to pull your marketing budget. And if you don't track your numbers very well, don't worry, nobody does. But take your marketing budget. What did you spend on marketing last week? And I want you to start small, like 5%. I want you to take 5% of that number. If you spent $10,000 last week on marketing, I want you to take 5% of that. I want you to spend that on building trust. Don't spend it on more ad buying that you can track every single, all the way the UTM parameters, all the way through the pixel on your website, straight into your CRM, and you know exactly where that lead came from, so you know that it's working, so you can pay more. Take 5% and spend it on gifting, taking people out to lunch, sending them something that is your brand that you can get in front of them, paying somebody to go over to their office and take them cookies and get yourself in front of them. You are not going to, I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to see new leads come in today over it. What you are going to start to see is people trusting you more, and people who didn't call you before now calling you because they know who you are and what you stand for. So that's it. Resources, inspiration, systems, engagement. Again, resources, make sure you're being mindful with how you're hiring right now. Be careful not to just throw bodies at problems. Fix the process first. Inspiration, make sure that you are inspiring your team. People are disengaging all around you, and it's your job to figure out how to get them re-engaged. If you don't know how to do that, pick up some leadership books. Pick up some books on how to get people inspired to do their work. There's a ton of great stuff out there. Systems, make sure that you are using AI smartly. Don't just waste your time on a bunch of toys and burning through tokens. Look at your process first and say, how do we make AI our plumbing that runs through the business, not just some one-off thing that we try to pop in from the sky? And engagement, build trust with your customers this week. Take the time, make the effort. I promise you it's going to be a little frustrating at the beginning when you say, well, man, I could have spent that extra money on PPC ads, or I could have spent the extra money on some SEO, or Brent, I could have spent that extra money on, sending out another set of mailers. Trust me, the more you build trust with your customers, the better off you'll be, the more potent your brand, the less you'll have to pay for those leads in the future, and the more money you'll make on each customer in the future. Focus on it now. It's an investment. Actions. Pick one of the things we talked about here today and go implement it. And if you do, send me a message. Let's communicate with this stuff. Send me something and say, hey, Brandon, I listened to the podcast. I picked this up and we implemented this into our business, and it helped, and it made us go where we want to go. A few closing thoughts and I'll wrap it up today. Clarity before scale. Define it before you can grow it. Make sure that you're being clear on what you want to do this week. Drive with purpose. Make sure you get everything you need to do as a business to grow. I encourage you again, as this is our first episode, help us out a little bit. If this helped you in some way, like it, comment, share, subscribe, send it to somebody who else is important to you. This is a new journey for me as I'm jumping on this. But I'm going to do everything I can to be here with you every single week, trying to give you some feedback, trying to tell you what we're doing and why it's growing, how it's growing and scaling. I want to help you as a business. If we can help you in any way, please drop me a message. DM me. I check my own messages. I don't have fancy teams doing it all for me. So send me a message. Let's get in there and look at those things together. And then we'll come back next week again, look at where the trends have gone, look at our metrics and measurables, talk about what issues are going on, get some good news, and just reconnect with each other. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.